My Bangkok story. What I wish I knew before everything fell apart. Hey, my name's Erik. I'm from Gothenburg, Sweden. I came to Thailand in late 2018 after quitting my IT job, a stable but soul-draining position at a mid-sized firm back home. I was 37 at the time, single with a decent bit of savings, and for the first time in over a decade, I wanted more out of life than just cold coffee and spreadsheets. I didn't come here with dreams of retiring on the beach. I just needed to feel something again. I had visited Thailand once on a 2-week trip in 2014. You know, the usual: Phuket, a few temples, a Thai massage. I was too nervous to fully enjoy. But Bangkok had always stuck in my mind. Something about the chaos, the lights, the sense that anything could happen. When I made the decision to leave Sweden, I sold most of my things, packed up what was left in two bags, and booked a one-way ticket to Suvarnabhumi airport. I remember stepping out of the airport that first night. The humidity hit me like opening a sauna door, but I loved it. The air smelled like grilled chicken and motor oil. The taxis all looked like bubblegum, and everything felt alive. My hotel was in Asok, nothing fancy, but clean. I spent the first few days wandering around Terminal 21, eating street food on Sukhumvit Soy 38, and convincing myself that I was finally living life on my own terms. It was intoxicating. Every tuk-tuk ride felt like a mini adventure. Every smile from a vendor felt sincere. There was this girl selling mango sticky rice who remembered my name after one visit. I was falling in love, not with any one person, but with the place, the energy, the dream. And at the time, I told myself I wasn't one of those guys. I wasn't here to mess around, to chase girls or run away from responsibility. I genuinely thought I'd maybe freelance a bit remotely and figure out the next chapter of my life. That was the plan, but you know how Bangkok is. It doesn't care about your plans. By the second week, I'd already extended my stay at the hotel. I'd met a few other expats, some cool, some clearly burned out. One guy, a Brit named Steve, told me straight: "You'll either make this city your home or it'll chew you up and spit you out." I laughed at the time. I thought I was grounded enough to avoid the usual pitfalls. I thought because I spoke some Thai, I'd been learning through apps, that I had a leg up. Looking back, that was the first warning sign: the arrogance, the belief that I was immune. By the end of the month, I was already browsing apartments on Facebook Marketplace and asking expats on Reddit about visa agents. I met a woman too, but I'll get into her in the next part of the story. Let's just say she was the reason I stayed longer than I planned. Much longer. Anyway, I'll stop here for now. If you're interested, I'll continue with the rest. The real story hasn't even started yet, and trust me, it gets crazy. Let me know. Best, Erik. So, about the woman I mentioned. Her name was Nook. She worked part-time at a cafe in Nikamai, and part-time at her cousin's shop that sold phone cases and chargers in MBK. I first saw her at the cafe. I wasn't even looking to meet anyone. To be honest, I was just trying to get out of the heat and order a decent espresso. But she had that kind of smile that felt like it cut through the chaos inside. You know the kind. Not seductive, not forced. Just warm and real. I came back a few days later. I told myself it was for the coffee, but that was a lie. She remembered my name, said it in a way that sounded like Erik, and it made me smile. We chatted a little more that time. She asked why I was in Bangkok, how long I was staying. I asked her the same. She told me her English wasn't great, but it was honestly better than my Thai. That same week, we had dinner at a little place she liked near Onnut. I offered to pick a fancy spot, but she insisted on something simple: grilled fish, som tam, sticky rice. We drank sinya and laughed at my awkward attempts at pronouncing Thai dishes. She told me her dad was a retired cop in Nakhon Ratchasima and that she moved to Bangkok to help support her younger brother through school. I ate it all up. I mean, I know now how easy it is to get swept up in these stories. But back then, I just thought I'd found someone real, someone different from the women I dated in Sweden, who always felt cold or preoccupied or obsessed with climbing some social ladder. Nook felt grounded, soft-spoken, sweet, maybe a little shy, but with a streak of humor I didn't expect. Our dates became more frequent. She started staying over. At first, she'd only pack a small overnight bag, but within a few weeks, her things started showing up in my closet. A toothbrush, a pink hoodie, a pair of sandals by the door. It happened gradually, but in hindsight, she moved in without us ever saying it out loud. I wasn't complaining. I liked having her around. She'd cook these incredible meals, rub my shoulders after long walks around the city, and always made sure my water was cold before bed. She had this way of making me feel cared for, which, if I'm being brutally honest, I hadn't felt for a very long time. I also started noticing how other expats looked at us. You know the look, half envy, half judgment. The older guys would give you a nod like, enjoy it while it lasts. The younger ones would side-eye you like you were part of the cliché. And in some ways, I guess I was. The Swedish dude, early 40s, dating a younger Thai woman. I could already imagine what my friends back home would say. But I didn't care, at least not then. We started doing everything together. Trips to Chatuchak, cooking classes in Shillong, even a weekend getaway at Khao Yai. I paid for almost everything, but it didn't feel like a big deal. She'd always offer to pay for the little things, like dessert or tuk-tuk rides. I told myself I was balanced. I told myself she wasn't like the others. Not like the girls the older expats warned me about in those forums and bar conversations. Then came the visa run. My tourist visa was running out, and I hadn't decided whether I was staying long-term or not. I was still freelancing for a few clients in Europe, so money wasn't yet an issue. Nook suggested we go to Laos together. She said she had never left Thailand before, and it would be an adventure for both of us. I liked the idea. We took a bus to Vientiane, stayed at a cute little guest house, and spent 3 days eating noodle soup and laughed in our broken English Thai hybrid language. One night on that trip, after a few too many beer laos, she looked at me and said, "You are a good man, Erik, not like many Tharan." That melted me. I didn't realize how much I needed to hear something like that. On the way back to Bangkok, she fell asleep on my shoulder, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is my new life. Thailand, Nook, us against the world. I started looking for a long-term apartment after that. Something nicer, with a balcony. I wanted her to have her own space. Not just be a guest in a hotel room. We found a condo in Thong Lor. Not cheap, but not outrageous either. 22,000 baht a month. I paid 6 months in advance. She cried the day we moved in. Said she never imagined living in a place like that. She called her mom from the balcony and showed her the view of the skyline. It was a beautiful moment. One that still feels real when I think about it. And that's the hardest part. Not everything was fake. Not every emotion was a lie. At least, I don't think so. We already know how these stories go. I'll send you the next part soon when the cracks started showing. Erik. Hey again. As promised, here's the next part. This is where things started to feel off. It didn't happen overnight. That's what makes it so dangerous. It was slow, subtle, like erosion. You don't see the cliff edge breaking until it's too late and you're already falling. I remember the first small thing. It was her phone. One evening, We were watching some drama on Netflix and her phone buzzed. Nothing new. She got messages often, just like everyone else. But this time, she turned the screen face down. Something about the way she did it, so quickly, so reflexively, made me pause. I didn't say anything. Then I started noticing it more often. She'd get line messages or Facebook notifications, and she'd check them quickly and close the screen just as fast. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe she was just talking to her cousin, her mom. She did say they messaged often. But then came the nights out. At first, we went everywhere together. Dinner, the night markets, even rooftop bars when we felt like splurging. But after a while, she started going out alone. Only girls, she'd say. You don't like dancing, Erik. You're always tired. And she wasn't wrong. I wasn't 25 anymore. And honestly, I was often tired. Especially with the heat, the chaos, the sensory overload of Bangkok. So I didn't press her on it. She'd come home late, smelling like whiskey and smoke. I'd ask her how her night was, and she'd give me vague answers. It was good. We just danced. Too loud. One night, around 3:30 a.m., I woke up and she still wasn't back. No message. I tried calling. No answer. I stayed awake, sick to my stomach, staring at the ceiling. She stumbled in around 5 a.m., drunk, giggling, her mascara smudged. When I asked where she'd been, she snapped, told me I was acting like her father, told me Thai women need freedom too. I apologized, as if I was the one doing something wrong. After that, things got weird. Mood swings. Some mornings she'd be loving, laughing, back to her sweet self. Other days, she'd barely speak. She'd complain about money, how her cousin wasn't paying her enough, how rent was high, how her mom needed medicine back home. I started giving her more, quietly. I didn't want to seem like the kind of guy who throws cash to keep a woman, but I also didn't want her to suffer. So I gave her 2,000 here, 5,000 there, helped pay for her brother's school fees, bought a new phone with hers mysteriously broke, always with a soft smile and a thank you, Ka, that made me feel like I was doing the right thing. Then one day, I came back for some coffee, and she was gone. All her things, gone. No note, no call, nothing. I tried messaging her, blocked. I called her cousin, no answer. I went to MBK. Her stall was empty. I panicked. I thought maybe something had happened. Maybe she'd been in an accident. I even checked hospitals. A week later, I got a message from an unknown Facebook profile, just one sentence. Stop looking for me. It's better this way. I didn't know what to think. Was she in trouble? Was someone forcing her to cut contact? Then, 3 days later, I saw her at a bar in Sukhumvit. She was with another Farhan, older, heavier, maybe American. She had her arms around him, laughing, in a dress I'd bought her. I stood there in the dark, crushed, as it hit me like a truck. I wasn't her first, and I wasn't her last. I left before she saw me. I went home, lay on the bed we used to share, and stared at the ceiling again. Only this time, I wasn't hoping she'd come home. I was realizing she never really had been home. Not in the way I thought. That night, I didn't sleep. I drank, sure. But more than that, I started going over everything in my head. Every red flag. Every time I'd ignored my gut. Every moment I'd handed her more of myself than I should have. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was that I still missed her. I didn't know how to stop. My brain knew it had all been a lie, or mostly anyway. But my heart, It still held on to the sound of her laughter, the way she rested her head on my shoulder in Laos, the way she'd call me Erik when she was in a playful mood. Heartbreak is strange like that. It doesn't follow logic. It lingers like smoke, even after the fire is gone. Anyway, I'll pause here. Chapter 4 will explain how I spiraled after that, the decision I made, the things I did that I'm not proud of. But this was the first part, where the dream cracked. The first of many. More soon, Erik. Hey again. Thanks for sticking with me through this. Writing it out is hard, but in a strange way, it helps. You asked for raw stories, and this one's still bleeding a little. After I saw her with the other guy, I should have left Thailand. I know that now. I should have packed up, bought a one-way ticket to Stockholm, and rebuilt my life with whatever dignity I had left. But I didn't. I stayed. That's the part that really confuses people. Why would you stay in a place that broke you? I've asked myself that question too, 100 times. Maybe I thought if I stayed long enough, I'd run into her again and get some kind of closure. Maybe I wanted to prove something to her, to myself, or maybe, deep down, I couldn't bear to admit I had been played. I wanted to rewrite the ending. Instead, I rewrote myself into someone I barely recognized. At first, I tried distractions. I joined a Muay Thai gym in Phra Kanon. I went to language exchange meetups in Ceylon. I even started taking Thai lessons twice a week with a painfully patient teacher named Noon. But no matter how busy I kept myself, I couldn't stop checking her Instagram. The new one. The one I found through a tagged photo she hadn't meant to reveal. She had a new name on it. Cherry Blossom BKK. I laughed when I saw it. She wasn't a cherry blossom. She was more like a cobra flower. Beautiful, deadly. There were pictures of her with the new guy. He was all over her feed. Same pose, same smiles, different man, different sucker. The spiral started slow. First came the bars, not the ones I used to enjoy, the chilled rooftop ones or quiet cafes. I started going to those seedier Sukhumvit bars, the ones that never close, the ones where you can order a beer and a broken heart in the same breath. I met other guys like me, Brits, Aussies, Germans, Swedes, all with the same haunted eyes. Some had been divorced, some had been cleaned out. One guy from Manchester told me he sold his house back home to open a bar in Isan for his Thai wife. He later found out she had already married to a local and used his money to support their family. It felt like a club, the brotherhood of the broken Farangs. Some nights we drank until 4 a.m., smoking chang bread and cigarettes, and swapping horror stories like war veterans. But there was comfort in that misery. Like if enough of us had been played, it meant we weren't all fools, just unlucky romantics in the wrong country. Then came the girls. I wish I could say I stayed above that, but I didn't. I started dating again, or something like dating. It wasn't healthy. I wasn't looking for love. I was looking for her in every girl I met. There was Fun, who looked just like her from behind but barely spoke English. There was Ice, who cried the first time I said I didn't want to go back to her apartment. There was Ning, who I thought maybe could be the one to snap me out of it. But then I found out she had a foreign boyfriend in Germany. She was still texting "I miss you" every day. Each new phase came with new lies, new masks, and new heartbreaks. And each one reminded me how little I actually understood this place. Thailand wasn't just another country. It was a different universe when it came to relationships. Up was down, yes meant maybe, Only you meant until tomorrow. I started losing weight, not from fitness, from stress. I wasn't eating much. My sleep schedule became a mess. I'd stay up till dawn, staring at city lights from my balcony in Ekamai, chain smoking and wondering how I ended up here. Some nights I'd write letters I never sent. To her, to my mom, to myself, 10 years ago. Don't go, I'd write. Just stay in Gothenburg. She's not what you think she is. But I kept going back to those bars. I kept checking her profile. I was addicted. Not to her, but to the version of her I had invented. That gentle, sweet girl who taught me to say Chan rak thar under the stars and pie. She was a ghost now, but I couldn't stop chasing her. I hit rock bottom one night in Nana Plaza. It was raining, not just the usual tropical shower, but a full-on thunderstorm. I was soaked, drunk, heartbroken, and angry. Angry at her, angry at myself, angry at Bangkok for being so damn seductive and cruel. I don't remember how I got into that bar, but I remember the woman who sat next to me. She couldn't have been older than 23, with that perfect pale skin and pink lipstick. She asked where I was from. I said Sweden. She said she liked ABBA. I laughed. Then I cried. Right there, at the counter, in a bar full of tourists and bar girls and neon lights. I broke down. She touched my arm gently and said, "You okay, P?" And I wasn't. She walked me outside, flagged a taxi, and told the driver to take me home. She even paid the fare. I don't remember her name, but she didn't ask for money. She didn't try to hustle me. She just saw a man who was falling apart and gave me a little grace. That ride home was quiet. The windows fogged up. The city blurred. I realized I was disappearing, not just in Bangkok, in life. Hey again. I never thought one quiet taxi ride could feel like a wake-up call. But something about that night, the rain, the collapse, the way that girl didn't try to take advantage of me, it snapped something in my head. Or maybe it repaired something. I'm not sure which. When I got home, I didn't go straight to bed. I sat in my shower for what I felt like an hour, letting the water pour over me like I was trying to rinse away the last 6 months. And maybe I was. That night, for the first time in weeks, I didn't check her Instagram. I didn't look at my messages. I didn't replay old voice notes or scroll through all our pictures. I just let myself be still. The next morning, I woke up. Actually woke up. At 9 a.m., sober, and with a clear head. I made coffee, real coffee, not 7-Eleven instant. I cooked eggs. I shaved. Then I walked out into my balcony and just stared at Bangkok. The sky was overcast but bright. The humidity was thick, but I wasn't choking me anymore. For the first time in what felt like forever, the city looked like a place where I might still build something, instead of just collapse in it. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't some overnight transformation. Healing is never cinematic. It's ugly and slow and unglamorous. But it started. I deleted her number. Then I deleted the backup I had stored in Google Drive, then the photos, then the voice notes, every piece. Not in danger. Not in anger. I didn't feel that anymore. I just didn't want to carry her with me anymore. I joined a proper expat group on Facebook, one of those Swedes in Thailand communities I used to mock. But inside that group were people who had been through everything. Marriages, divorces, visa hell, real love, fake love. And weirdly, they weren't jaded, just realistic. I started talking to this older Swedish guy named Lennart. He'd been living in Thailand for 15 years, married to a Thai woman for 10, with 2 kids. He ran a logistics company out of Lat Krabang. I messaged him one night after he posted something about surviving heartbreak in Southeast Asia. We ended up having lunch at Terminal 21 the next day. He looked like the guy who'd seen things, but he spoke softly, kindly. I told him everything about her, the scams, the obsession, my collapse. He didn't judge me, he just nodded. Then he said something that stuck with me. You weren't in love with her, Erik. You were in love with being seen. It hit me like a punch in the chest. He explained that a lot of us, Western guys, who come here feeling invisible, unremarkable, we get addicted to the way those women make us feel. Worshipped, wanted, special, and then when that feeling is taken away, it's like withdrawal. You think you're heartbroken, but really you're addicted to attention. The truth hurt, but it freed me. Leonard offered me part-time work at his company, just helping out with documents and English language stuff. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave me structure, purpose, a reason to get out of bed that didn't involve alcohol or Tinder. Slowly, I rebuilt. I started going to the gym again. Not to impress anyone, just to feel like myself. I reconnected with a few Thai friends I had ghosted during my spiral. I even began studying Thai more seriously. Noon, my language tutor started to become a real friend. We'd chat after class, walk around the market. She never pushed, she just listened. One afternoon, I told her everything about my ex, about the breakdown, about the bar scene. She didn't flinch. She just nodded and said, "You know, Thai girls get their hearts broken too. We just don't post about it." That made me laugh, a real from the stomach laugh, the kind I hadn't felt in months. It reminded me that pain isn't exclusive, it's just quieter here. About 2 months after I started working for Leonard, I got a call from my father back in Sweden. He asked how I was doing, really doing. I told him the truth, not sugarcoated. He got quiet, then he said something I never expected. "I think Thailand is good for you, Erik, as long as you don't let it consume you." He was right. Bangkok is a wild animal. It can devour you, seduce you, destroy you, but it can also force you to grow up, if you let it. I'm not writing this to say I came out of the other side perfect. I didn't. I still had days where I miss her, or rather the idea of her. I still have nightmares sometimes where I see her with someone else and wake up shaking. But I'm better. I'm not broken. I don't go to the Nana bars anymore. I spend my evenings reading or cooking, or sometimes just walking around the soy with a cheap iced coffee. One time, a girl stopped me and asked if I wanted to go to a bar with her. She smiled in the same rehearsed way. I smiled back and said, "No thanks, I've already been there." She laughed and I walked on. I think the biggest lesson I learned is this. Bangkok will reflect whatever version of yourself you bring to it. If you come here lost, it'll offer you distractions. If you come here hungry for love, it'll feed you fantasy. If you come here whole, it'll challenge you to stay that way. Now I'm trying to be that whole person. I met someone new. Not in a bar, not online, just in real life. Her name is Aum. She's an architect. She speaks perfect English. Grew up in Chiang Mai. She doesn't call me P. Erik. She calls me Crazy Swede. And when we go out, she pays sometimes, insists on it. That alone blew my mind. She doesn't need me, and that's exactly why I trust her. We're taking it slow. She knows my history. She doesn't judge me. She just tells me not to be stupid again. And I'm trying not to be. So yeah, that's where I am now. Not at the end of the story, but definitely past the darkest chapter. If you want to use the story on your channel, you have my blessing. Just maybe don't use my full name. Erik from Sweden is fine. And if any other guys out there are watching and they're where I was, tell them this: you're not alone, and it's not over. You can climb out. You just have to want it more than you want the illusion. Warm regards, Erik. Hey again. Thanks for sticking with me this far. It's strange. Writing to you feels like I'm writing to myself, like I'm finally processing all of this after keeping it bottled up for so long. I left off at rock bottom, broke, alone, detoxing in a $7 a night hostel room with a leaky sink and no hot water. Not sure if I'd ever get back up again. But here's the thing. Rock bottom is a strange kind of clarity. Once you hit it, there's no further to fall. You stop flailing. And in that stillness, you either give it up or you decide to start climbing. I chose to climb. But I didn't just wake up one morning and say, okay, time to fix my life. No, it started with something simple. I needed to eat. I had about 8,000 baht left. I remember walking down Sukhumvit Soi 22 in the blazing heat, sweat dripping down my back, looking for the cheapest bowl of khao mangai I could find. I sat at a tiny street cart, surrounded by construction workers and motorbike taxi drivers, and I just breathed. That chicken rice cost me 40 baht. And for the first time in months, I tasted every bite. Later that day, back at the hostel, I ran into a guy named Adam. He was maybe in his 30s, South African, sun-leathered skin, with that weathered look of someone who's seen some things. We struck up a conversation over instant coffee in the shared kitchen. I didn't expect to open up, but somehow I did. I told him about Nok, the scams, the debts, the pills, the paranoia. I think I expected him to judge me, maybe laugh or walk away, but instead, he nodded like he understood. He told me his story: divorce, bankruptcy, a suicide attempt. Then he landed in Thailand, and through sheer willpower and some help, he managed to turn things around. The worst things in life, he said, can be the start of something better if you stop lying to yourself. He gave me the name of an English-speaking therapist near Phnom Penh. I stared at the scrap of paper in my hand for a full day before I finally messaged the clinic. They had a slot open 2 days later. Her name was Laura. She was American, maybe in her late 40s, sharp-eyed but warm. Our first session, I barely spoke. Just a mess of half sentences and long silences. But she was patient. She helped me realize that everything I'd gone through with Nok was part of a bigger pattern I'd never recognized before. Chasing validation, running from failure, getting high, not just on pills or drinks, but on the fantasy of being someone I wasn't. I started seeing her weekly. Then, through a flyer on the wall of the clinic, I found an AA-style recovery group for expats, English-speaking, non-religious. I showed up one Wednesday evening, and I sat in the back. There were only 6 of us in that dusty upstairs room of a community center near Nana. A British chef, a retired American Army guy, a Filipina expat, and a few others. They spoke freely, openly, painfully, and it hit me I wasn't alone. I started showing up every week. That's when things began to shift, slowly but surely. I moved out of the hostel, finally, and rented a tiny studio apartment near Onnut, 6,000 baht a month. No hot water, no aircon, but clean and quiet. I bought a used fan from a Thai guy on Facebook Marketplace and slept better that night than I had in weeks. With the little money I had left, I signed up for beginner Thai classes. I figured if I was going to stay in Thailand and make something of this life, I had to stop being a tourist in my own survival. Learning Thai gave me something to focus on. It made trips to 7-Eleven feel like a challenge. How do I say receipts? How do I ask for no straw? Small victories added up. I wasn't drifting anymore. I had direction. One afternoon, while waiting for the BTS, I ran into someone I hadn't seen for over a year. A Thai guy named Beam, who used to bartend at one of the nicer rooftop bars I'd hang out with before everything fell apart. I remember picking him well and chatting with about music and motorcycles. He looked shocked when he saw me, like he'd just seen a ghost. "Man, where have you been?" he asked. I shrugged and gave him the short version. He was quiet for a moment, then said something I didn't expect. "You still good with writing? We look for someone to help with our new English menu and online posts." I took the job. It paid peanuts, but it gave me structure. I'd show up twice a week, sit with Beam and his boss, and help rewrite their cocktail list and Instagram captions. I got a free meal every shift and enough money to pay rent and still eat properly. More importantly, I felt useful. As I kept going to therapy, I started noticing things I hadn't before. I realized I'd been addicted not just to substances or women or fantasy, but to feeling important, to being seen. Thailand, with its easy smiles and performative social media culture, had fed that addiction. But I didn't want to live like that anymore. I wanted real connection, real peace. So I started volunteering. Through Laura, I found a nonprofit that helped Burmese migrants learn English. I taught 2 classes a week. The students were young, mostly teenagers and young adults, many of whom worked during the day in factories or construction. They showed up exhausted but eager. We laughed a lot. I brought cookies once. They gave me a birthday card that they made themselves, filled with broken English and smiley faces. I cried when I got home. It's funny, for a long time, I thought the only way to succeed in Thailand was to live like some Instagram digital nomad or crypto bro, with beaches and babes and endless pad thai. Turns out, the real success was just waking up sober, making a kid laugh, saying thank you in Thai, and meaning it. I still had bad days. Then days when I'd see couples holding hands and wonder what Nook was doing. Days when I'd wake up in a sweat thinking I'd overdrafted my account again. But those days were less frequent now. And when they came, I didn't run. I stayed. I sat with discomfort, and then I moved forward. I know this isn't the flashy part of the story. There's no car chase, no dramatic showdown, just a guy trying to be better than he was yesterday. But maybe that's the real heart of it. I'm not fixed. I'm not a guru or a survivor turned motivational speaker. I'm just Erik. But for the first time in a long time, I like who that is. More soon, Erik. Hey again, friend. It's funny, I didn't think I'd actually finish writing all of this. I kept thinking I'd stop halfway, delete it, and move on with my day. But here we are, and now, sitting in this tiny apartment in Bangkok, fan blowing softly behind me, I'm staring at the blinking cursor, wondering how to wrap it up. How do you summarize the worst and best years of your life? Let me start here. If you're reading this, and if you made it all the way to the end, thank you. Seriously. Even just writing this to someone who might understand already feels like a kind of release I didn't know I needed. I want to be clear about one thing. I don't blame Thailand. It's easy to scapegoat the place, the culture, or those women, the way bitter guys do on Reddit threads and in late night bars conversations in Pattaya. But the truth is, Thailand didn't break me. I brought my own brokenness with me. It just happened to get exposed under a hotter sun and brighter neon lights. If anything, Thailand showed me exactly who I was and who I wasn't. I thought I was the kind of guy who could handle anything. I had survived winters in Sweden, soul-crushing desk jobs, bad relationships, loneliness. But it turns out I had built a life on distraction and ego. And when you take those away, when you're sitting alone in a dark room in a city of 11 million strangers, detoxing from pills and love and delusion, You were forced to meet yourself. And I did. And I didn't like him at first. But slowly, I started rebuilding. Not into something upgraded, perfect version of myself, but into someone real, someone grounded, someone who doesn't measure his worth by his bank account, or the woman on his arm, or the number of likes on a post about his life in paradise. I've learned to say no. I learned that loneliness is not an emergency. I learned that self-worth isn't given, it's built, brick by brick, day by day. Sometimes the bricks are made of therapy sessions and AA meetings. Sometimes they're made of street food and student smiles. Would I go back and undo what happened with Nook? No, not anymore. Don't get me wrong, it was hell. But if I hadn't fallen that far, I wouldn't have been forced to look up. She wasn't the cause of all my problems. She was the mirror, and I was terrified of what I saw. Now, I've got routines. I teach 2 nights a week. I still freelance a bit with English menus and translations. I'm getting better at Thai. I can even argue with my landlord about the washing machines now. Progress, right? I've got a group of friends I meet every Sunday for coffee. No alcohol, just conversation and bad jokes. I'm 38 now. I got more gray hairs than I used to. I'm not chasing girls in nightclubs anymore. And guess what? I don't miss it. Some people might say I wasted those 2 years, blew my chance, lost too much. But I don't see it that way. I think I finally started living. So why am I writing to you? Because if you're reading this and thinking, damn, that could be me, it probably is you. Maybe not the same details, but the same ache, the same fantasy, the same crash. You're not alone. And if you're still in the crash, please don't give up. Ask for help. Message someone. Sit down and write like I did. Go outside. Eat the chicken rice. Learn to say, Mai Sai Nam Dang, so you can finally stop getting all that sugary red sauce on everything. And maybe one day, you'll look back on this moment the way I'm looking back now. Not with shame, but with gratitude. Because pain is a hell of a teacher. And if you survive it, you get to be someone stronger on the other side. Alright, that's enough for me. This has gone on longer than I expected. If you ever want to grab coffee or talk more, I'm here. Seriously. Thanks again for letting me be heard. Warmly, Erik. Hey everyone. Thanks so much for watching or listening to my channel on YouTube regarding expat stories in Thailand. If you made it this far, I just want to say I truly appreciate you. These stories might sound wild, tragic, or just downright embarrassing, but honestly, they're real, and that's what makes them powerful. Now here's the thing. I know there are way more stories out there. Maybe you've had your own rough landing in Thailand, whether it was a broken heart, a business gone bad, visa troubles, or just waking up one day wondering, how the hell did I end up here? If that sounds like you, I'd love to hear from you. You don't have to be a great writer or even use your real name. Just send your story. You can be anonymous, or we can even change the details. The point is, your story matters, and someone out there might relate to it, or even gain some insight, or learn something that might help them. So, if you're willing to share, even if it's just a paragraph to start, please email me in the email in my description. Let's turn your misadventure into a story that others can learn from, or at least laugh about. Thanks again for being here. More crazy stories coming soon. You're not alone out here. Thank you.